All right, we're going to talk about some Berserk anime. Here I have Berserk 1997, just released on Blu-ray. Actually, that's not the Berserk anime we're going to talk about, but it's pretty good. I think it got restocked too, so if you want to buy it, that's that. We're going to talk about Berserk, the Golden Age trilogy of movies. That's also not what we're going to talk about. I don't know if that's available. And then I think I heard rumblings that there was a Berserk anime in like 2016, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist. Like, I don't think that that's real. You know, it never actually happened. People just tend to talk about it, but it's just, it's never happened. Actually, for the sake of this video, okay, I want to keep this video correct and informative. So, all right, jokes aside, there was a 2016 version, but I'm not paying like $50 for that piece of shit Blu-ray. No, what's been making the rounds recently on the interwebs and what lots of people have been asking me about, and so I figured I would address it all in one big video and give you guys my thoughts and opinions on everything that's happening with it, is people are talking about brand new Berserk anime that's coming out. And one thing that I want to mention before I get into all of my thoughts and opinions on everything is that there is no official Berserk anime coming out. I don't want misinformation going on around the interwebs, and sometimes, especially with the quality of this trailer is really, really good. You know, some people are going to think that this is an official Berserk anime that's coming out, and some people are running with the story saying that it is, and it is not. All the Berserk anime that you have been seeing recently within the last couple of months, they are all fan animations. Now, they are all looking fantastic as far as I'm concerned. I'm not an animator, but I have people that I know or that are friends of mine that are into animation or making animations of their own, and I see the painstaking process that they go through just to create, you know, 10 seconds of footage. And so I can't imagine the amount of hours that go into making a 20-minute episode or even, you know, a 4-minute trailer. Like, it's got to be insane, you know, and this is all fan animation stuff that's either crowdfunded or not funded at all. And so, you know, that's a lot of time, a lot of man hours, and you need to have genuine artistic talent in order to do it. So I'm not discounting the work and effort that goes into it. I just want there to be no misinformation out there and no false hype that this is some kind of official Japanese studio making a Berserk anime from the source. That is not the case. All of these anime are fan-made anime, okay? So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that right off rip. And look, I have always been a fan of fans making fan films. You know, even outside of manga and anime, you know, I love when people make their own, you know, short films, whether it be in like the superhero genre or the horror genre, like the Never Hike Alone Friday the 13th film by Womp Stomp Films that came out last year. I thought that was great. So I'm always a fan of fans creating their own material and fan fiction stuff. Not that I've ever written any fan fiction. And usually fan fiction goes in like a really sexy direction. Not sexy, but weird. But I've never written any. I think it's a good jumping off point for people creating things, especially if they want to create their own stuff in the future. I think it's really good to have a template to kind of start with to create like fan films. Even like movies and short films that I made when I was younger, you know, they took huge inspirations from things I was a fan of. I made a horror movie when I was 15 years old that was original, but it was like 80% just an Evil Dead remake, you know? So I'm totally on board with all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to Berserk, it seems to really upset people that there is no anime, or really no official anime that goes through the entire manga, even though I really, really, really enjoy the 97 Berserk anime. Obviously, it only adapts one arc of the manga, and it skips some very important stuff, including my favorite chapter of the entire manga, which is Wounds. It omits Skull Knight from the story, so, you know, there's definitely problems to be had. I think it's the best Berserk anime we have so far, but it's still, you know, it's still very far from perfect, right? But when it comes to Berserk getting an anime, to me, although I would love one, you know, I would never say no if they tried again, unless it was the same exact creators from 2016. Then I'd be like, all right, maybe not. But I would love one. But for me, I just want the manga to finish. That is my top priority, my top objective that I hope gets complete, is that I care about the manga. I think an anime would be a great plus, it'd be a great bonus, it would be the cherry on top, but if we never got a Berserk anime and the manga finished, I would be satisfied with that. I'd be fine with that. I don't need a Berserk anime. I would like one. That would be cool, but I don't need one. If I had two choices, there was a Berserk anime adaptation that came out now that adapted everything 100%, but it would only go up to where the manga is now and the manga wouldn't finish, or we never get a Berserk anime ever and the manga does finish, I would pick the manga finishing, because that is the, prime, like, most authentic way to enjoy the story, and that is where everything comes from. That's the basis of everything. So that is what I would like to see be completed more than anything else. Now, the big Berserk anime that everyone is talking about right now, it comes from Studio Eclipse, which I don't really know anything about Studio Eclipse. I had not heard of them until a couple of months ago when news of them making a Berserk anime was coming out, and I treated it like every other fan project where I think that that's really cool, but I'm not like heavily invested in it. After watching the trailer now, I can say that I am thoroughly impressed with it. I think that the animation looks pretty damn fire. I'm not going to play it because, YouTube copyright stuff, but that's another thing I want to talk about is the copyright, but we'll get into that in a second. But I'll link it down below so that you guys can check it out for yourself. But I think a lot of the animation looks great. I'll just play like a small little clip here. And it looks like various different animators along the way as well. But what's really funny is there's a scene here that stood out to me more than anything else. It's Guts, having a dream about Casca and then reaching over for her and finding out she's not there and only grabbing his sword instead. Kind of the symbolism of that thing that makes him feel safe and comforted. And it is something that is not in the manga. It's not in the manga whatsoever. You're not even supposed to know Casca exists in this at this point in the manga. Kentaro Miura didn't even know Casca existed at this point in the manga when he was writing it. But hindsight can be a great thing, and if you are doing an adaptation, I don't mind adding things in like this. Like, does it spoil going into the Golden Age arc and media canon? Yeah, but, like, it's cool. It's sometimes when you shift mediums, when you go from manga to animation or to live action or something, things change. And I knowing the story the way that I know it and the way that I'm sure a lot of you guys know it, this was a pretty emotional, 5 seconds of footage. Like, I was like, oh man, like, it hit me. But now I want to talk about something that may be a little bit of a controversy, and again, something I'm not very knowledgeable about, but I've heard other people talk about it, is that Studio Eclipse had also been working on an Attack on Titan anime. Of which people have told me that they are upset because they have released trailers for it, but have never released an episode or whatever they were supposed to do with it yet. Now, again, I know that when you are doing fan animation yourself and you're relying on, funding from whether it be Patreon or, other people funding it or YouTube revenue or whatever it is, it's a slow process. Like, I don't know how many animators they have, and how many hours they have to put in. I imagine all these guys are probably working full-time jobs outside of animating. So, it's a rough thing. So I don't know how long these things take, and if they're doing Attack on Titan and Berserk at the same time, that's probably why it says they're not putting out an episode until summer of 2025. But I know them saying that, and the Attack on Titan one not coming out has made people think that maybe this isn't going to come to fruition. I'm not really sure myself. I'm just going based upon what other people have told me. But as of yet, it is a trailer, and they said the episode is not coming out until summer of 2025. So again, temper your expectations. But just judging by the trailer itself, I thought the trailer was good. Me personally, but that's coming from someone with no animation background, and I don't know anything personal about Studio Eclipse. I just thought the trailer was good. But while we are on the topic of Berserk anime, I really do want to shout out the YouTube channel Archie. They dropped this a couple of weeks ago, and what they are doing is attempting to continue the 1997 Berserk anime with a season 2. So they are also doing a fan animation with season 2, and they already have a full episode out, which I will also link down below if you want to watch it. And I thought this was really good. Again, you have to remember it's a fan animation. Things aren't going to be perfect. It's like there's going to be little errors here and there. Like, it's not an official Japanese studio. And I think when you judge fan projects, you have to keep that in mind. Like, you can't put it up to the same standard as a studio studio that has all the resources in the world to do what they do, you know? But I thought this was really good. I thought they captured the animation style of 97 very, very well. And they did that whole sequence with Guts fighting the skeletons and everything. And I thought this was pretty good. As far as like a Berserk anime continuation, like you could tell it's fan animated, but like they're doing a really good job. It's capturing, you know, the color tones of the 97 and at least the vibe and the style. And so like, shout out to these guys. And like I said, they already have a full episode out, so you can already get a little bit of your Berserk fix if you go check them out. But before I end the video, I want to talk about my favorite Berserk fan animation, which has always been Studio Taka. Studio Taka has been putting out the Berserk motion comic for, I don't know, 50 years now. I'm just kidding. But they're great. They are my absolute favorite. Now, they are doing the animation a little bit differently, where they are animating the manga itself. They're animating the manga panels and creating kind of that sort of motion comic style with them, which I think is pretty fascinating. It's also really funny that they also did the skeleton sequence very recently, the same time as the other one. But you know, and they are adding a little bit of their own style in here too, you know, and stuff, like this one. But these guys, you know, they've been going hardcore for years now, and they are super awesome. I've talked to a couple of people from this studio, and I've always been a huge, huge fan of them. So if you want like a great Berserk anime and you prefer the manga style and the manga artwork, Studio Taka. If you're not already on Studio Taka, go subscribe to them right now. All right. Okay. They're not telling me to say this. All right. I haven't talked to any of those guys in years. I'm just saying they're my favorite. So go subscribe to them. So yeah. So when it comes to all this Berserk animation stuff, I just want it to be known out there that none of this is official. None of this is coming from an official Japanese studio, but there is a lot of great quality effort going in from a lot of Berserk fans. And, you know, I'm happy to see all of it. I really, really am. I do want to put out a word of warning for the copyright, though, because I don't really know how this works. So what I do is I review things, right? So I don't, so, you know, how I get around copyright is basically like it falls into fair use of review, analysis, criticism. You're not putting the same thing out there and profiting of it. You're changing it up. You're changing the format. You're talking over it. You're making edits. You know, you're making something completely new. You're making a completely new, different product, right? When it comes to fan animations, I don't know how that works. So I just want everyone out there making one just to be careful, because, you know, if you are just adapting the manga and putting it out there, you know, Japanese studios might not be too happy about that if you're profiting off their product without making any changes or, you know, it falling into fair use. Not to mention the fact that in Japan, fair use is not really a thing. People get flagged all the time for showing just a manga panel, right? Like, I can't put a manga panel up for more than like 5 seconds or else it'll flag in YouTube. So I wonder how, you know, people like Studio Eclipse and stuff are going to be able to get away with that unless they just don't monetize, which should be fine, but I really don't know. But I just want to throw that out there just to be careful with the copyright stuff, because you never know what could happen. I mean, the worst that would happen is your video gets striked and taken down. I don't think it would go any farther than that, you know, but I just want everyone out there making this stuff to be careful. But other than that, those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. You know, I like all this stuff so far that I've seen. I think all of it's cool. For me, the manga will always be #1, but I'm excited to see what people come up with. So those are my thoughts on all the Berserk anime that's been coming out recently. It's so crazy. We've got so many in a row because Taka just released this new episode, then the 97 continuation, now the trailer for Studio Eclipse. It's just been one after the other, which is crazy, man, which is crazy. But hey, it just shows that Berserk is alive and well. The fandom is out there. You know, the manga is ongoing. Koji Mori is carrying the torch. Fans are carrying the torch. So, you know, it's not going to stop anytime soon. So let me know what you guys think about all this stuff down below. Those are my thoughts, and I'll talk to you later.